Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another early seasons predictions video. Who we're going to be taking a look at today is the 2024 Oklahoma State Cowboys football team. We're going to be going game by game, seeing which games we think they're going to win, which games we think that they are going to lose, and also trying to predict the final score for their college football season. Go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe. We're going over every single college football team, looking over everyone's schedules, trying to predict their final record. And once the regular season starts, every single week we go game by game. We do the money lines, spreads, the over-unders, and we also do the same thing for every single NFL team once the NFL season starts. Hit that like button and subscribe. As I already mentioned, we're looking at the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Now, I know this is a really passionate fan base. When I did the Big 12 predictions video, Oklahoma State fans were really passionate. They have a lot of faith in their team based off of what they did last season. Now, I don't blame them. They do have the award winner for the top running back in all of college football. They have Ollie Gordon coming back. He did decide to stay. He did decide to come back with the Oklahoma State Cowboys. That's a pretty big deal. He's probably the best running back in all of college football. They can lean on him. They can run the ball downhill. If there's a close game, they can run the clock. They can run him nonstop, 25, 30 carries per game. He can also catch the ball out of the backfield. If it's a game that they need to control, they have someone that they can rely on. Their biggest weakness to me is Bowman at quarterback. Now, I know what a lot of Oklahoma State fans are saying. His last game he threw for 400, 450 yards. That's all fine, but he did not have a good season at all. It's pushing it for this guy to get 3,000, 3,500 passing yards. Last season, he had 15 touchdowns, 14 picks. Almost one touchdown for every pick. That's not going to cut it. That's not good enough, and that's with the best running back in all of college football taking pressure off of him. They need to get the offense right. They had a lot of guys transfer out, but they do have the legend himself, Mike Gundy, the longest tenured coach at one school in all of college football as of right now. The guy's a great coach. He does a lot with low 4 stars and 3 stars because he develops players. He knows how to get the best out of what he has on his team, but their defense was like number 98th last season. They got to get those numbers up, but with the changes in the playoff, if they can compete, win the Big 12, they get the bye week and they get into the playoffs. They have a pretty decent roster. They have some playmakers. They have Owens, Stribling, Presley, and of course, they have Gordon at running back. But let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule. Let's get that started. So they kick things off August 31st for South Dakota State Jackrabbits. Obviously, do not overlook South Dakota State just because they're on an FCS team. This is a team that hasn't lost since 2022. This is probably the best FCS team in the country, hands down, the best FCS program in the country. Think of this as a lower tier Division I team. If you don't come to play, they're going to beat the crap out of you. So don't take this game lightly. Am I saying Oklahoma State's going to lose? No. Oklahoma State should cruise. They should be able to ride Ollie Gordon this whole game. Bowman should be able to show out. I don't think he's going to have a great season. As long as he's serviceable, though, this is a very good squad. I have Oklahoma State cruising through this game, winning this one 34-24. So a 2-possession game, starting out 1-0. They follow that up Saturday, September 7th with an SEC matchup. Obviously, whenever it's an SEC matchup, it's going to be a big deal. Big 12 versus the SEC. This is the Arkansas Razorbacks. This game is also in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Arkansas had a lot of changes. KJ Jefferson's gone. They've been going through coordinators nonstop. Pittman, this is probably going to be the year that he gets fired. They don't have the weapons to be able to compete here. But this is a rivalry game. This is a border matchup game. The Arkansas Razorbacks will be coming to play, but look for Oklahoma State. To me, they should be able to dominate this game in the trenches. A lot of people are saying Oklahoma State has a top 5 offensive line. Some people say they have the best offensive line in all football. So they're fine getting down, dirty, physical. They're going to run through this game. I have them winning this one 31-24. They're 2-0. They followed that up Saturday, September 14th versus the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes. This is 3 straight games at home. Tulsa's not a bad squad. Oklahoma State last season started the season pretty sloppy, dropped to some inferior foes. As long as they don't have the same start they had last season, and they actually start this year where they left off last year, they should be able to control these games that they're going to be favorites in. Look for them to also beat Tulsa, and I think their offense will kind of get rolling this game. They're going to win this one 44-27, 3-0. They take that into Saturday, September 21st. The newcomer to the Big 12. A lot of people have Utah as a top 10, top 15 team. A lot of people have them as favorites to potentially win the Big 12, their first season in the Big 12. The Utah Utes this game also in Stillwater, Oklahoma. It's at home, but Utah's going to be tough. They have Cam Rising coming back. He didn't play last season. He's a pretty legit quarterback. I'm not saying he's a Heisman level quarterback at all, but he's a legit quarterback for what Utah needs him to do. They just need a quarterback that can scramble somewhat, make the passes, get first downs, and don't screw the game up. Don't throw picks. That's all they need. Utah is going to have an extremely physical defense. A lot of people think that Oklahoma State should be able to run the ball straight down on Utah. That's what Utah wants you to do. This was the most physical team every single season in the Pac-12. They're going to be bringing that style of play to the Big 12. They're not going to change. Kyle Whittingham, great coach, just like Mike Gundy. He's the second longest tenured college football coach next to Mike Gundy. I have Utah coming in here and winning this one. In a close one. I think with Ollie Gordon, they're going to shut him down, but he's still going to get his. But he's going to have to work really hard for it. And it's not going to be enough because Oklahoma State's defense, they're going to give up some points to Utah. I have Utah winning this game in a somewhat close one, probably like a 33-27 game, and Oklahoma State's 3-1. But I would not be surprised if Oklahoma State can pull this one out. They followed that loss up Saturday, September 28th versus the Kansas State Wildcats. This is their first road game of the season. Kansas State, they've actually been playing really good football for the last 3 to 4 seasons. This is a team that won 10 or 11 games the last 2 years. Competitive game. A very competitive team. They have Avery coming in at quarterback. He's a legit quarterback, 4-star quarterback. He'll be filling in for Will Howard, who has transferred to the Buckeyes. They have a pretty deep running back room. Now, Oklahoma State also has a deep running back room, but nobody gets talent out of weird places like Kansas and Kansas State. They have 2 3-stars, but they're developing. These guys are a very well-coached team. They've been there before. They know how to win the Big 12. I have Kansas State getting the win here versus Oklahoma State. But I think this game is going to be a tough game. It's almost a 50-50, can go either way. But I'm going to ride with Kansas State. I just think that they're the more complete team as of right now. It's not a knock on the Cowboys. I have Kansas State winning this one. Probably going to be somewhat lower scoring, like a 30-24 game. And Oklahoma State's 3-2. But don't give up because they're about to get hot. They followed that loss up October 5th versus the West Virginia Mountaineers. They're back at home coming off of back-to-back losses. People are starting to get mad. West Virginia won 9 games last season. Brown did really good. West Virginia can run the ball. They came out of nowhere last year. A lot of people had Brown getting fired. He completely turned things around. This is a game, if Oklahoma State is kind of reeling from those 2 losses, they could end up going back-to-back-to-back losses here because West Virginia is a talented squad. They're well coached. But Mike Gundy, he's been there before. He's been on this ride before. Look for him to get the ship back on track, to get everything right, for the running game to get going, and for Bowman to have a big game this game. They want to go into the bye on a good note. They're going to beat West Virginia in a higher scoring game. I could see this one like a 40-33 game, and Oklahoma State's 4-2. Then Saturday, October 12th, they have a bye week. They have 2 losses. They can recuperate. They can rest Gordon. Gordon's been carrying the load. He needs some rest. And they follow that up Friday, October 18th, the odd Friday game versus the BYU Cougars. This game is in Provo, Utah. BYU, they've kind of fallen off since they came to the Big 12. You know, a lot of people have them winning 3 to 4 games this season. Sometimes they're a pretty physical team, so sometimes they can surprise you. But I have Oklahoma State continuing, building up a little bit of a winning streak, rolling through this game, beating BYU. It's probably going to be like a 38-23 game. Oklahoma State's 5-2. Then Saturday, October 26th, we have the Baylor Bears. This game is in Waco. Baylor's one of those teams, they should be a lot better than they are. But Aranda, For some reason, since he won the Big 12, he just can't get this ship right. They've completely fallen off. This is not the Art Briles Baylor Bears. He's coaching for his job. If he goes 6-6 this season, he's getting fired. When you're coaching in Texas at Baylor, where they have resources, you need to be churning out a better program here, a better product on the field. Oklahoma State should roll this game. They should move to 6-2. They're going to win this game about a 35-27 game, 6-2. Now they're on a little bit of a streak. Saturday, November 2nd, they have another newcomer to the Big 12, the Arizona State Sun Devils. This is Kenny Dillingham's team. Obviously, they didn't have a very good season last season. They are trying to do some things. They are recruiting decent for Arizona State. It is a fertile recruiting ground, but there's a massive talent gap here. Oklahoma State should be able to keep things right, roll through Arizona State at home. I have them winning this game. It's probably going to be a little bit of a higher scoring. I'm going to say like a 42-30 game, and they're 7-2 in line, potentially competing for the Big 12. Then they followed that win up Saturday, November 9th at TCU Horned Frogs. This game is going to be in Fort Worth, Texas. This is one of those games. TCU, they won 7 games last season. They took a massive step back from obviously going to the national championship in 2022. Do not overlook TCU. They're a lot better than the product you saw on the field last season. They still averaged 35.6 points per game, but they were banged up. They had quarterbacks going down, running backs going down. They were depleted through the transfer portal, through the draft. They should be a little more stabilized this season. This is a team that is a potential 7-8, high 9-win team. So 7-9 wins, probably more in the 7-8 range. But they're a competitive team in a fertile recruiting ground. They're a well-coached team. They have the firepower there. If this game's a shootout, they could win. I have Oklahoma State winning it because TCU's defense leaves a lot to be desired, just like Oklahoma State. So the game's probably going to be a shootout, but I have them winning this one 38-34, 8-2. Really good year so far. Then they have a bye week. They're on, a 4 or 5 game winning streak here. They've earned the bye week, get some rest. And then Saturday, November 23rd, Texas Tech Red Raiders. This game is in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Texas Tech is just like TCU. They're in Texas. McGuire, great coach. This is a really competitive team with one of the better, a top 5 running back in all of college football, just like Ollie Gordon. If this game is on the ground, it's probably going to be a shootout. Both teams don't play defense. Texas Tech, they're a pretty decent team, though. They can score some points. Offense took a step back, but them, just like TCU, they were banged up at quarterback last season. They were banged up with their starters. Fresh year, they're coming off of a 9-win season they had in 2022. Kind of took a little bit of a step back last season, but don't overlook them. I have Oklahoma State dropping this one. I think that Oklahoma State can win it. If they win this one, they lose the TCU game. If they win the TCU game, they lose this game. It's just at this point of the season, they're going to lose to one of these Texas teams. I don't know which one it is. Right now, I have them beating TCU, but losing to Texas Tech. In a close one, this game's probably going to be like a 30-27 game, and they're now 8-3. Then, coming off that loss, Friday, November 29th, at the Colorado Buffaloes. This game is in Boulder, Colorado. We all know what Colorado is. You have Deion Sanders, you have Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter. They have some big-name talent players. Depth-wise, they got 70 transfers here. Team completely built through the transfer portal. They don't have the depth, though. They definitely don't have the depth at starters. Their defense last year was a complete joke. It was like a number 115th in the country. They have new coordinators. They're going to give up points, though. You're not going to jump from 115 to top 50. Not going to happen. I have my doubts about the coaching on Colorado. Yes, they won 4 games last season. Yes, they started out the year hot. Could they potentially do that this season? Yes. But the schedule's not going to be easy. They're going to be fighting to get a bowl game. If they're at 5 wins here, they're going to play hard, trying to get that 6th win to get a bowl game. This is the last season with Shedeur Sanders because he's going to be going to the draft. So they got to throw everything out there this season. But I have Oklahoma State, the better coach team, the older team, the more experienced team, finishing out the regular season with a win on the road in Boulder with everyone watching Deion Sanders coaching. I have Mike Gundy getting the win here to finish the regular season. winning this one about a 40-28 game, finishing the regular season 9-3. Is 9-3 good enough to get to the Big 12 championship? Potentially. That's going to be on the border there because you got pretty good teams in the Big 12 all kind of competing for those final two spots. You're going to have Utah, you're going to have Kansas, you're going to have Kansas State, potentially some up-and-coming team that we're not thinking about right now. Is it a UCF? Possibly. And then you also have Oklahoma State there. So they're all competing. If Oklahoma State gets to the Big 12 championship with 9-3, they win the Big 12, they get in the playoffs. That's all that matters. They automatically get the bid for the playoffs. They get the bye week. If they go 9-3, but they're not one of the top two Big 12 teams and they don't get to play for the Big 12 championship, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs at 9-3. There's way too many good SEC Big 10 teams. I don't think they'll then have this shot. But still, a 9-3 with a really good bowl game, that's a really good season for Mike Gundy. Especially, a lot of people always doubt Mike Gundy, just like Kyle Whittingham. Never doubt Mike Gundy. This guy perennially, every single year, 9, 10 wins with the product he has. But the Big 12 is wide open now. Texas is gone. Oklahoma's gone. So it's up to anyone. So they could also surprise. They could finish the season 10-2 or 11-1. And then they'll definitely probably be making the playoffs. But that's my breakdown for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any comments, drop them below, whether you agree, disagree, and I'll make sure to respond. Thanks.